All right, guys. Welcome back. In this module, we'll be talking about domain name registration and hosting. Before we dive into the practical class, let me tell you briefly about what domain name and hosting is about. You see, for you to be able to create your shop or your online store or to have an online presence, you need a domain name and you need the hosting. So what is the domain name? Basically, a domain name is the address of your website that people can type in the browser or the URL bar to visit your site. In simple terms, if your website was a house, then your domain name would be its address. So what I would say is that unique address that your business bear on the internet. I guess you got my point, right? Now, there are different types of domain name. As in, I mean the extensions. You can have .com, which is the most popular. You have .com.ng, you have .org, .tv, .net, .info, .io, .co, and so many more. But for this tutorial, I will urge you to register .com or .com.ng. Right. So, the next thing is how can we register our domain name? Now, before you go to how you register your domain name, one, you need to first set what your name will be. You need to agree. You need to write that down. What name you want your website to bear on the internet. So let's take for instance now, Dami Store. You can say, okay, your brand name is Dami, then you can call it damistore.com or damistore.ng. You understand it now? So this name is what you will submit to service provider, domain name service provider, or the hosting service provider. Then you check for availability if that name is available for you to take. If the name is not available for you to take, you choose another one. You get it now? Then after that, after you've done your domain name registration, you need hosting. So what is hosting? What is the web hosting? Web hosting make the files that comprise your website. I mean, the files like the code, the image, the content, the article, the video, etc., to be available for viewing online. Every website you have ever visited is hosted on a server. Now, the amount of space allocated on the server to a website depends on the type of hosting you subscribe to. So what is this all about? Now, hosting in a layman term is a remote storage or a remote system where you keep all your internet assets, all your files, all your website assets, like your files, your images, your videos, your content, everything, where you keep it remotely so that it will be available 24/7, 365 days. So this is what the hosting does for you. You understand? So if you want anybody to be able to visit your site, to view your site, it has to be hosted on a remote system that is available 4/7. You get it now. So that's about the definition. So let's dive into how we can register our domain name and the hosting. Now, the other thing is this: domain name registration require payment. Hosting as well require payment, because the company that is providing those services for you, you have to pay them for the service. And for your domain name, you buy a domain name and you have access to it for a year. So it's a renewable thing. After a year, you renew access of that name. For your web hosting also, it can be annually, it can be biannually, it can be quarterly. You got my point now. So let's see how we can do domain name registration and the hosting. Right? Good. So we are diving into that right now. So, all right, guys. Now, this implementation time. One thing I want you to know is before you do your domain name registration and hosting or checking your domain name availability, there are different companies that render this service. And I'll urge you, if you're choosing any company, any hosting provider, choose the one that has the highest uptime, because if the company do have downtime, it will affect your business. So these companies, we have so many of them. You understand? We have so many of them. Some of them that I've used, that I'm using, that I've hosted site on are these ones. I used GoDaddy, I used HostGator, I used Namecheap, Namecheap, I use Web for Africa, I use Bluehost, Bluehost, and so many of them. Now, these sites are great, and their charges to the price to are at least affordable. But for this class, I'll be using Bluehost. Bluehost is a Nigerian company, and I've been using them for a while now. So what you do, let's go to our web browser and check Bluehost out. So this is it. This Bluehost, bluehost.ng. So this is how their site look like. The first thing you need to do when you get to any hosting platform is to first create an account with them. So when you create your account, then you can do domain name availability. So let's create I have an account with this. So what I would do is, let me check. Let's create accounts. So that's me. So I just click this. Log into my account. It's loading up. All right. So I'll come to register new domain. So I click on this. And most importantly, most of this hosting company has the same interface. So you don't need to bother yourself much. They all have the same interface. So take for instance now, I want to register domain name called biostore. Biostore.ng. So this is the name that I want to register.com. So I click search. So if it is available, they're going to tell me that, okay, good, I can pay for this now. So what I would do is to just click on add to cart. So when you click on add to cart, you click on checkout, So after you click on checkout, it takes you to the next page where you do your configuration, your domain configuration. So it's telling me that the domain is no hosting attached to this domain. Do I want to attach the domain to it, hosting to it? So I would say you should add hosting to it, because we are doing both domain name registration and hosting together. So this is their charges. You get it? These are charges. Because for a test, I'm not going to pay for this service. I'm not going to pay for this domain name. So what I would do is, let me just place order. So I will cancel the order later. Let me place order with this. Then, yeah, before that, let me go back. Before that, let me tell you something, which is very important when you are doing your hosting. Look at these packages. They give you all what these packages are entails, right? Now, here, this is your web space. This is the capacity of state, like the storage they are giving to you. The next one is the bandwidth. See, what is important here is this storage and the bandwidth. All these ones are not really necessary, but I would advise you go for higher bandwidth if you know that your business site, your business, it's going to require a lot of traffic, or you're going to be driving a traffic to the site so that it won't crash. So sometimes I do advise you start with this premium package, this particular one. See, it's giving me 30 gig bandwidth. Now let me explain what this bandwidth is. This bandwidth is like a speed. It is speed or frequency of your site. You understand? So that it makes your site has more capacity to allow a lot of people to access it at the same time. All right. Well, technically, what this bandwidth means is bandwidth in website hosting is the amount of data your website can transfer to your user in a given amount of time. You understand? So if you have higher bandwidth, it means that your website will be able to transfer data to your user fast and be able to accommodate more users to access your website at once. Do you get my point now? So I will advise you go for the higher bandwidth and possibly the web space as well. The web space is the storage, like your memory card or your storage, where you put. The higher the storage, the higher the number of files that it can take. Sure, you get it. But we're just operating just a simple site, no traffic. You can go for the Aspire, which is the first one, 600 naira per month. Right. Okay. So after let's place order. Let's place order for the 600 naira. Actually, I'm not paying for it. We're not going to pay for this. So to do that. So after you've done this, it's going to tell you that do you want to use this domain as. So I'll say yes, you use this domain. So it prompts me to where you're gonna allow. Okay, good. So say I should check out and make the payments. So this is just how it is. As soon as you make payment and you continue your registration with this, it's going to send you an email. So let me show you the example of email that you're going to get from after you've done your hosting and your domain name registration. All right, so you're going to get something like this. You understand? You're going to get a mail like this, where you're going to have your cPanel details, your username, your password, and all the things you need to log into your cPanel and start up your site. You get it. So after you've done this, that's all about your hosting and the domain name registration. So the next part of the class is we have to starting up our website. So creating our website, our sales page, our sales funnel, right? So let's dive into that part of our class. So like I said, the next thing is we are starting up our website. So in that part of the training, we will first install our WordPress, and I'm going to tell you why we need this, why we are using the WordPress. We're going to install all the necessary assets that we'll be using for this project and to create our ultimate e-commerce sales funnel, a profitable sales funnel for our e-commerce business, right? So meet you in the next class, right? Thank you.